New York City was always hovering on the horizon. I always wanted to read New York. I always wanted to get my name in the New York paper. I've read New York 3 times. 2 of them were arranged by a man from Port-au-Prince. As Yogi Berra is alleged to have said and told the mayor of Dublin was Jewish, only in America. So what I want to read you is first a paean to New York City. Let me read you from not the book that's been accepted, but one I've been working on, which is kind of a memoir novel. And I found myself in New York City in 1968, another year of all hell breaking loose, except there was nothing as awful as Trump. But we can talk about that later. New York, most public and private place. Try finding those parties and important people, difficult. Try finding a job, competitive. Those who have what you want are only blocks away and stories above, frustrating. Ride the subway, wonderful. The New York subways are the most interesting place in the world because the whole world passes through. Expensive? Yes. But if you want to be here, you'll live in any space. Because when you walk out of the door, you are in New York. It's not if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. It's if I want to live there. If I want to make it there, I'll live anywhere. Despite noise, pressure, expense, indifference, inconvenience, you could become a New Yorker in 15 minutes. Living here, working here, not visiting. I say it's a nice place to live, hard to visit. Because when you live here, you get to know your little acre, postage stamp, few spiritual cubic feet of New York City. You are a New Yorker. In its own hard-assed, unique way, the city is spectacularly inviting. Psychologists say people decide if they will sleep with someone within 15 seconds of meeting them. Voila, New York City, Ecce Manhattan. In 15 seconds, you decide if the city is for you. You don't have to be born here. This isn't Boston. You don't have to have 10 generations here. This isn't Virginia. You just have to stay. Work, brave the subway, give directions. It's up to you. The world is here if you have the energy. All its grit and spectacle. You may strike out, probably will. In the meantime, take a hit off the richness of the place. If you can hack the hustle, survive urban sublime, all the bitch gods and goddesses, what America might be, should be, never quite is, it's here. New York is big, overpowering, filthy, and subtle. In the midst of tall buildings, tall egos, bright lights, village hipness, east side style, west side ease, where the fuck is the center? Times Square? The news of the world goes round and round. What could the NY Center be? A billboard with your name on it? The mythical estate of fame? An image of an image? Advertising? Constellations of seduction? Nebulas of desire? Want, want, want. NY, NY, NY. I'd walk out of my building, I was renting the back room from a college friend, and think I might get killed or laid before the sun came up. One didn't happen, the other rarely. For all its unease, New York is a place to dream. Jack Kerouac said, not the biggest fighter, the biggest lover, the biggest liar can find the center of Saturday night in America. Maybe not, but I'll wager it's somewhere in the 5 boroughs. Even if there's no center, you sure as hell know it's Saturday night. Is there any sight like Manhattan rising in its own galaxy as you come in from Jersey? Manhattan lying in brilliant sunlight, like an aircraft carrier, a woman, naked city, invisible city, mysterious outer boroughs, the streets speak in tongues. After a while, you start to dig. Now, that's my paean to New York, since my father, as a small child, grew up in Manhattan. I moved here, and my son lives in Brooklyn. Now, what this novel is about, and it's a little too autobiographical, it's a good thing many people are dead who are in it. There's a person who has my name in 1991, gets a phone call saying there's a woman that wants to see you tomorrow at 7 in the morning, but she won't say who it is. He's in Sarasota, Florida, and the phone call has come from Sandy Creek, New York, up on Lake Ontario, where the Salisburys are from. The character, whose name is Luke, is convinced that he turns out to be right. He is looking for his father's biological parents. My father was adopted by a mother in Manhattan. And I would not ask him about it because I knew it hurt him. He would only say, I can't sit, but he's dead now, and I have looked. So what happens is this character, 1991, is in Sarasota, Florida, on the West Coast. And I thought I'd invented a genre of literature. It hasn't caught on yet. You drive 24 hours to see someone, you don't know who it is. It's a member of the opposite sex. You listen to rock and roll, take speed, think of all the people you've ever fucked and how you fucked up your own life at the age of 20, which is when this woman that he's going to meet screwed up her life. So I'm going to read you a little bit of this. I pull out of Sarasota, it's December, by the way. I pull out of Sarasota by 2 a.m. No music, like the Ritalin. I'll use it later to grease the night highways of America. I like night driving. The longer the trip, the better. Postmodern life is not conducive to thinking. Visual images, constant stimulation, ideology replacing facts, all the wonders of an over-technical, under-humanized world. Night driving is conducive to thinking. Automobiles and consciousness glide in the dark, but must stay on the road. Stay steady, like the cosmological constant. Imagination is out there. Other selves, old disasters, new interpretations, yesterdays there beyond the headlights, in the occasional fellow night traveler rushing at us, then quickly gone into oblivion of the night highway. In big trucks, seemingly breaking the sound barrier. The stars are up there on an interstate, away from towns and cities. Faces float back, guilt. Our days pass as a tale that is told, says Coppola, the preacher of Ecclesiastes. Good Jesus, how did that book ever get in the Bible? Such a clear-eyed, tragic stare at death and what death makes of life. The most intense look at meaninglessness. The King James translators, their prose is an argument for divine inspiration, even for atheists. Render the word as vanity, vanity of vanities, inverse of King of kings, vanity in the face of meaninglessness. I'm vain, that's part of being a novelist, part of being human, facing death and meaninglessness in Florida. You better be vain. For who knoweth what is good for a man in this life? All the days of his vain life he spendeth as a shadow. For who can tell a man what shall be after him under the sun? That's the heart of this trip. Someone's fine hammered woe. Someone whose life is passed as a shadow. Someone coming out of the dark before going into the dark. Coming with a tale, a story, a film, her story, her film. If she is who I think, then the woman's near 90. Last stand, last touch. My mother said my father's biological parents came from up there, by Lake Ontario, those little towns that produced Grandpa, who left in 1899, and a host of cousins who's left too. Mother also said she's descended from children. I've looked in yearbooks, town histories, old newspapers, looked at girls born around 1900 in a country schoolroom dressed nicely for the photograph, at high school girls dressed as Indians, smiling at graduation, knowing what their lives will be in very small towns way up there, who they'll marry, where they'll live, where their children will go to school, which will be this school, not college, the farm, hard, solid lives. They didn't know each other. It's funny looking at photographs for a trace of yourself, a mouth, slant of eyes, hairline, attitude, looking for this face, seeking a family, but what family? A family that didn't get to be a family. I've pored over grainy newspaper photos with my brother Mason saying, tell me something, show me, tell me. Going through yearbooks from Sandy Creek High School, Union Academy, Belleville, Adams, Watertown. Who am I looking for? My droll father? My solid, amusing, menacing brother? Traces of me? Obnoxious? Flamboyant? Too much self? Hints of lust? A little shyness? This woman may not have graduated. She got into trouble. The oldest after murder and theft. Trouble. motto of the human race. And the boy, man, neighbor, relative, boyfriend, one-night stand, North Country Lothario. Maybe I look like him. Maybe my adolescent antics are him, not my father. What did he look like? Subversive twinkle, coy wink, insider smirk, an asshole. What has your life been, dear lady? What would have been without the trouble? Were you ruined? Did you leave the little towns that maybe educated you? Was my father your only child, only son? Who would he have been if he'd stayed with you? Who I? Nymph in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. Hamlet. I go north with Hamlet on one side, Koheleth on the other. Sins come back on the highway. Sins will rise in Sandy Creek. Ghosts walk in the Hotel Martin. That's what it is. I have 23 hours to contemplate my own. Contemplate the family I know. Are you my Sphinx, dear lady? The chariot at the crossroads? Ghost in my Hamlet? Why have you come back? What will you tell me about Nanny, Grandpa, and my father, the people I love most? What do you want from them? Reevaluate them, I reevaluate myself. The Hotel Martin is at dark. Sandy Creek has hit hard times. The Hotel Martin is across the street from where the old Salisbury house stood. The place could not have been chosen by accident. I take 2 Ritalin and wash them down with Diet Coke. The night in the past, not quite sane and either. That's a line from Mark Twain who said I was never quite sane. Not quite sane and either. Head north on Route 41, Tamiami Trail. And I don't even think of the college that I went to. In 1965, when I went to college, as my friend Peter Cohen said, you had to go to college to meet the devil. I know you meet the devil in middle school now, Cesar, but what can I tell you? The devil was certainly available in those dorms in the ruleless Florida night. There were drug misadventures, suicide attempts, unhappy women, breakdowns, unruly townies, baggage from home, baggage of the 50s crashing into the 60s. It was great, great to be a guy. That's an untold tale of the 60s. Discarding virginity and stability was easy for guys. For women, it took character. Now, all right, here's something I was going to read, but I will read it since John Dottie asked about the country. I don't like Florida. America writ small, so dreadfully proud of its mediocrity, so proud of the credo that paying taxes is unpatriotic, and the founding fathers believed only in guns, Jesus Christ, and greed. Florida is what America will be, but it may be now. Overcrowded, hot, gated, air-conditioned, and 1,000 channels on TV. When a country has no real enemies, it becomes its own enemy. Where the boys are became where the idiots are. The second coming depends on Jesus packing a sidearm. Ban abortion, bust unions, distrust intellect, let the poor go to hell, screw the environment. Government is the enemy, not stupidity. What a state. Conservatives are conservative. Nothing. I should be running for office. Lucius Albert Salisbury, I'm the third, of Sandy Creek, was enthusiastic for war. He was enthusiastic about everything. Born that way, different times, men who believed in fighting and fought. That's the Salisbury story. What led Grandpa to World War I? His father to Antietam. My father and his tragic older brother to Normandy in the Third Reich didn't leave me. I want to understand going to war, want to explain it, need to explain it. And remember, because their tale is part of the innumerable lost stories that make up the history of a family, a town, America, a time. Lost stories teach us something, even in this digital world. The clever rise and scam the rest of us. Look at the American economy, Joe. Hidden behind so much fudging, lies, and derivative mysteries, it's the most superb work of fiction of the age. Until, of course, his savings, pension, and future are gone, outsourced, vanished, disparaged, like youth, the past, like Salisbury money and social position. Gone. Why dig up history? Search closets, force locked boxes, change the meaning of familiar faces and photographs. At a certain age, we need to explain and tell. I'm north of Sarasota on an empty road, driving it yesterday. I suffer nostalgia, but lost disease. Mark Twain likened nostalgia to masturbation in the letter he never sent. I pass a highway sign. Where will you spend eternity? It's next to a funeral home. Restaurants and funeral homes. Florida has it figured out. Alpha and Omega. That which has been is now, and that which is to be hath already been. And God requireth that which is past, coherent. If I'm right, the summons is a moment the past and present collide. When, as Humbert tells Lolita, your nose hits the mirror. Two noses coming in one mirror, one from the past, one from Sarasota. An old woman and a 45-year-old man will collide in a rundown hotel. One will talk. One may learn people he loved were different than he thought. This isn't masturbation. Well, meeting my discarded, if that's what happened, ignored by my father, if that's what happened, blood grandmother, if that's who she is, be life-changing? Will her story be shocking? Will her treatment by Salisbury's, perhaps my father, her son, make me sad, remorseful, crazy, change the way I treat my own family? Yes, no. Grandpa's favorite English word, coined by the French he served with in World War I. Yes, no. We learned it as children. Yes, no. Very handy. I head west for Orlando. I watch my speed as some zealous Florida state trooper may decide to stop me as a drug courier running after midnight in America's shadow economy. I teach. That's shadowy enough. The second one is profession. Do I teach students to write their own histories, know their lives? Yes, no. Pass a sign. Gatorland. Giant white gator. Even in my worst Florida nightmares, I have never encountered giant white gator. Giant white gator. Is this a triumph of cracker eugenics? A victory over nature? Over the Seminoles, the only Indians never defeated by the U.S. military? Who wasn't defeated, co-opted, twisted by American culture, American dreams? Even alligators don't like it. Was I, Grandpa, my father? War and family, rise and fall. In 22 hours, I may find a white gator. It matters what I think before I live. Only I can take myself hostage. White gator, white gator, white gator, just a little more. I like Florida. I just said I didn't. I like Florida at night on the highway. Night highway, radio going, memory bubbling, imagination simmering, subconscious rising, car gliding through the infinite space where Hamlet would be king, save for bad dreams. I feel one with America. I'm aimed at New York City, where Grandpa took his fortune and made a family and got career and rank and position. Made a life that didn't disappoint, no matter what happened. And much happened, things that would break other people. Things to disillusion the truest of believers, like Danny, truest of the true. At night, blasting up the East Coast, I'm at home in the empty place called America. New York one end, Florida the other. Born in one, sinned in the other. On late night highways, we're all strangers looking for home. I'm looking for an old woman who might say, this is who you are. Here's what happened. You're special. You're home. I always loved you. Bullshit. This isn't true. North. Driving the night highway, rushing through the dark, brings back my wounds, love and love's wounds. Back there in the night, in yesterday, are ghosts, hot love, bad love, lost love, things I did, things done to me. Wounds make us who we are, as spouses, parents, what was and might have been. Lost nights, hot night, hot ego. Thank you.